359. So this is another one of those where they're acting as the regional banker for. Anything to add here, Rick?
No, Mr Mayor, this one's been going on for a while. I think they're trying to get this done prior to the end of financial year. The number of councils involved.
I think Winton, and from memory, Winton, Longridge and Barcoo are all active in this one.
Do we do anything here, Mr. Mayor?
We aren't part of it, Rick, are we?
No, three, Mr Mayor, we had a contract with TMR to clean up TMR grids this year, but no, we're not part of this.
We don't. Talking with other council areas, TMR's a few of them, but we don't triple the grids. Our road network's bigger, crosses more. Like they started quoting numbers of grids. I looked at one section of one district map that I had, and we had more in that one section of one district. We had it last time. So it'd be a significant cost issue. So we haven't investigated it. Like we'd have to investigate how we were going to fund it, who we were going to charge. Whereas it's an existing model that they've cleaned grids on Shire roads for a substantial period of time, so it's inbuilt. This is just a way of consolidating procurement for a service to do that, make it cheaper for the three local governments involved. Standing tender. Can I have somebody then endorse this move that we approve that? Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Hanson. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favour? Carried 7-0. We'll do finance. Yep, next 361. Somebody move that we receive the report, please. Councillor Rogers, seconded Councillor Plum. Those in favour? Carried 7-0. So, Ahmed, do you have anything for us here?
Maybe got all the figures from the month of February and it presents the cash position, what we want, what we have to pay with, and the monthly cash flow estimate for the month of February, as well as where we are with capital works salaries and maintenance works expenditures in accordance with the budget. And the TMR construction contracts, those are the rates.
Questions? You're getting off easy. Yeah, very good. Details clearly there in the report. Rick's report. Can I have somebody move Rick's report, please? Councillor, Councillor Arthur, and seconder, Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? Carried. Councillor Peoples, was yours for the whole report? No, he's still there. We can see.
Not really, but there's not a lot in it.
I didn't know that you had 371 on the list. Oh, no, yes, you did, because you tended on items that are in the roll.
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favour? Sorry, carried 6-0. Rick, anything here for us?
Three, Mr Mayor, on behalf of Director of Works. No, not particularly. We've had quite a bit of wet weather, Mr Mayor. It's delaying a couple of our projects in the black soil country as well as Clanway Alpha. So we're just dealing with that at the moment. Also, the flood damage works obviously inhibited our program as well, with having to go back and get roads open. So, rocky couple of months.
Okay, questions for Rick? We've just got a neat schedule out. It's rained and probably throws the whole thing in the bin. Only good thing it means is this road, there is water available for our, rural road construction jobs closer together, hopefully. All right, somebody please fetch Councillor Peoples and you've got the paper. All right, Rick, do you want to lead us through flood damage package 7, please?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the tenders were advertised and called. Council received quite a few responses, which was good to see. And the one recommended here for package 7 is the most advantageous to council. You will notice, Mr. Mayor, that the winning tender is not the lowest tender amount, and that's due to the 10% advantage of the tenders getting.
So,
Very close.
obviously the tender that we're looking to award here is local, receives a 10% weighting, and the lowest conforming tender was not a local.
It was only about $800 even over 365,000, so very close.
Discussion? Mover? Plum? Seconded. Councillor Gleeson? Discussion? None? Those in favour? 6-0. Flood damage package 8.
So again, Mr. Mayor, there's another package north of Jericho. This one is Clennyvale Road. Again, there's quite a good number of tenderers into this one. They received 10 tenders from 8 tenderers. And again, this is the most advantageous to council.
And is the lowest conforming tender in this
That's
case.
what I asked, yes.
Question? Mover? Sorry, question?
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, is there a completion date for these projects?
For these tenders, yes, there is.
The actual work,
Sorry.
the actual work that they.
Yes, 3 years, Mayor, there is definitely tender periods on these. Contract periods, yes.
Yeah, he's capable of doing both these contracts in that time limit.
3 years, Mayor, I had a meeting with this particular tenderer this morning about his works program. And we're going to have follow-up meetings fairly regularly, just to see what he's got on his works program and make sure he can deliver these projects. So we're constantly moving our program around based on deadlines. So our emergent works flood damage has got to be done by 31st of March. So they're obviously a priority. There's some other works due by the end of June. So as we release these packages, we're taking that into consideration, what our deadlines are.
Which is why we're not approving 25 different packages at once.
Yes.
Any further questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'm pretty sure, well, I think I did anyway. I asked, could we have these tenders come to us so that we could have a look at it? As in,
Who submitted what tender?
who submitted what tender? And I don't, they're confidential, but it would be good just to have them here on the day to have a look at. We're just getting, one saying here, this is the best control we can.
Can I have a resolution to close the meeting under section 254 3J, which is the commercial clause? Yeah. Do I have one? Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Rogers. Those in favour? Carried. Can I have a resolution, please, I move it for the resolution on the screen. Councillor Peoples, Councillor Gleeson seconds. The award of tender to Michael Horn Transport for flood damage package 8, sum of $255,412.20. Those in favour? Carried 6-0. 374. That was, no, this one. The resolution for the, I move for the resolution on the screen. Councillor Peoples, Councillor Plum. Flood damage package 9 will be awarded by tender to Michael Horn Transport for $111,055.88. Those in favour? Carried 6-0. 375. Tender award flood damage package 10. Council receives the report and award the tender to ProProof Proprietary Limited for the sum of $353,231.85. Is there a mover? Councillor Gleeson, Councillor Hanson seconds. Discussion? Being none, I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? Carried 6-0. Okay, like to go, Rick, I know you had a meeting to attend and you got off the road, so can I ask councillors to return to 321, which means no, you can stay up there, that's why it's taken the paper. In case we have a question for Rick on any of this. This is a confidential report and on the basis of the same clause we used before, J, section 254J, G, my apologies, section J, clause 3G, you're right. Apologies for that before. Because it's relating to a commercial matter involving local government. Can we please, for the discussion of the vote through, look at tenders. Can we go in closed session? Mover. Councillor Hanson, second, Councillor Gleeson. Right. Councillors, we're good. Councillor moved that we move into open session. Peoples, I think it was, and seconded Plum. Those in favour? 6-0. Can I have a mover for a motion to defer consideration of the Globe Tourist Lookout tenders until the 30th of Tuesday, the 30th of March? Move to Councillor Peoples, second to Councillor Hanson. I'll wait for you, Jess. No? Sorry. Councillors, normally we would meet on a Wednesday, but we've already allocated the 30th for our budget day, so if we're coming together anyway.
So,
And if further information that's required isn't sought by them, we have the ability to defer, but the resolution to defer has to include a fixed date that we're deferring it to.
but if we've got to deal with that, then you'll have to call a special, or you want to put that in there now?
No, we only wait 2 days for you to do that. Okay.
I was just going to say the same thing, you want a special meeting.
Okay, let's do it, and then the notice is given if you happy with that. Yeah, or do you want? No, let's wait, because otherwise then we've got to cancel a meeting if we can continue to defer, but if we're formally resolved to hold a recognised meeting of council with some clunky to reallocate that. So I think that's a more flexible resolution. Well, sorry, it's your motion, Councillor Peoples. Would you like to add anything further to it?
I'm flexible too, Mr Mayor, that's fine.
That gives us the most flexibility. We wouldn't be ready to go. We need to give you 2 days to give you your working papers for the meeting. That would be the earliest I could see us, and I'd suggest that might even be tight. Councillor Hanson, you still happy with that? All in favour? Carried, 6-0. Resume our agenda proper. It's agenda item 381. Can I have somebody move Damien's report, please? Councillor, oh, I better wait. Councillor Plum. Councillor Rogers. Those in favour? Carried. So, questions for Damien. The item in Damien's report that refers to the ATM installation will be given to you in open meeting in very general terms. There are some confidential items relating to elements of that reinstallation that the officer has indicated would be prejudicial of the interest of council if they were given in open meeting. So if you really need to know, we can close the meeting, otherwise we'll keep references to that and in general terms.
That's correct, Mr.
That's
Mayor.
correct. Right. Comments? Questions? So do you want to give us that general update then?
The general update for the next ATM is they're getting back to us now with the new price to see how much it's going to cost. So it gives them a cost figure again. Obviously, with what happened, we're also going to have them, the cash companies, so we'll have another price there for them coming through to do all what they did before with the ATMs as well. And they're still very happy to be proceeding ahead with it in the local community.
So your approach here is to get one back and installed and operational in Alpha and then work with the company on Jericho.
On Jericho then as well, as an ongoing sort of concern.
They're giving you any indication of time frame around the Alpha installation?
Hopefully, he's hoping to get back to me this week with the proposal by the end of this week, and trying to get something in as soon as possible with the orders, which I would say hopefully in the middle of next month.
Okay. Very good. Questions? 391. Somebody move Paula's report. Paula, good afternoon. Councillor Gleeson moves and seconded Councillor Hanson. Those in favour? Carried. Most productive day's work you've had for a while locked over there, Paula.
Yes, it's been very good.
How's the creek?
It's been great.
The creek dropped away. Is the road open yet or not?
No, not yet. It's holding steady actually, and we've just closed Aramac Torrance Creek and Aramac Muttaburra Road. So,
You're isolated from the world.
yeah, that's okay.
Paula, your report has been received. Have you got anything you'd like to add or draw our attention to?
Just letting you know that both the communities are up and running again. They're organising a lot of events this year, from races to shows to cricket to golf. So that's really good to see. Again, Brett and I went to Muttaburra to do the streetscape meeting. We had some good ideas there, and a fair few of the community turned out. So yeah, that was pretty productive, which was great. The MIC, which we all know is being fitted out now, it should be finished on Friday, and the Aramac Showgrounds amenities should be handed over next Friday. Should have been this Friday, but because of the weather, they haven't been able to come down. So hopefully we'll sign that off next Friday. Yeah, and COVID injections, of course, were at Aramac Munnabara Monday and Tuesday. Most of that went well. And that's all.
Questions for Paula?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I've got one. Community housing purchase evaluations been received. How,
Yep.
what were they like? Or are they high or reasonable or what?
I thought they were high. Yeah, they were fairly good prices, higher than what I expected.
Is it the valuations for, you're not talking about the, yeah, so we better be careful at open session.
Yeah.
We're in,
Yeah, I don't have it, but yeah, they were good valuations.
They're the valuations we're sending to the department for, they'll come back with an offer based on those discounted values.
Well, this isn't come back to the department, these valuations that we've got done to.
So we had to get our own valuer in to value the market value. Then because they were joint council departmental purchase, they'll provide us with a discounted offer to
Okay.
purchase them.
I was thinking the department. giving
No,
us-
the department hasn't come back yet.
and that's what Brett was referring to, could take 12 months. Okay,
Mr Mayor, can I just ask Paula? Paula, what part of the Torrens Creek Road is why you closed it? Which part?
Close to Bullet Creek at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
we may need to get ready for permits. Rick, Anna. All right, 392. Council's agreeing with a recommendation that we agree to sponsorship of Munnabara Stock Show, and our options are listed. I don't know what your thoughts are, councillors. I like the idea of the Lucky Door prize myself. It will be an enticement for people to attend the show, but only one person will get the big money, but you've got to be there, you've got to go, and you've got to be there all day to be in the chance for it, so it'll not bad to that event, but any and all of those options, try and get some community spirit over there would be fantastic, so fire some options up.
Through you, Mr Mayor, should we choose or should we just give it a monetary value, because some of those packages might already be, like say the Lucky Door might already be.
Paula,
sponsored.
do you know whether any of those are taken, or are we getting first choice?
No, Katie never said if any of them have been taken already, but I was sort of thinking the same thing. Yeah.
So council could still pick one that they prefer, but be happy with the others. So councillors, are you looking at the 250, the 500, the 800, the 1500, or the 2000?
The sheep prices.
In 500, which is normal contribution.
They'd be very good.
So the only reason I was thinking of significantly higher is they have significantly less events to spread there, and they're very well attended, good volunteer base, they don't drain on council resources. You know, I don't know if the one size fits all approach is always the answer. Sorry, councillor Peoples.
Paul, just a question, with the sheep races, do they have a few races?
I don't know, Gary, council people, sorry, I've never actually seen a sheep race at the sheep show.
Well, I was just thinking about the Barkle Council Cup, the Barkle Council, I don't know what they call the next one,
They have quite a few.
but I just thought
They
you'd
have
probably get a fair
council.
bit of.
Club says they have multiple races.
Yeah, they have quite a few, they have auction and then they race them.
I thought you'd get a fair bit of airing with the sheep races. Compared to the door prize, that's all.
Through you, Mr Mayor, fair take.
They're taken.
I know they're taken, because I wanted to sponsor the sheep races and I couldn't.
Is the lunch taken?
I didn't want to do too much, so I didn't ask for that. I just went with it.
Excuse me,
Councillor Gleeson.
what's our precedence, what's our money? You're saying this or this or this, what's our?
What
I
are
know,
council's
I know
issues?
speaking from other side of the fence, we've got $1,500 at different times for the camp drafts and the off camp draft. So it's at $1,500.
Sometimes they get 500, because that's all they ask for. Sometimes Ballinaty, I know the Aramac News Radio Council usually has elected in the past to choose a figure of $1,000. There are precedents, but they're not the only rules that done. It's not just because you're a community group you get a set figure. Council's choice here.
I'm saying that I'd say $1,500 for the event.
Melinda. Councillor Rogers.
About the same time a month ago, council people were slipped into this bad habit.
Councillor Rogers, did someone actually say, because if they've got several races, they might have someone do one race and someone do another race and get half a dozen sponsor
Yeah,
15.
so that sheep race one is, it's like, that's what it costs to sponsor the whole event of the sheep races, you know what I mean? Like,
Not one
and
race.
the person gets to name, the sponsor gets to name the sheep and they've got a Calcutta and, yeah.
That's a good event there. We play there.
All right.
I'm really in your hands, councillors.
Make a donation or sponsor to the value of $1,500
And one of them might be free. Just,
and negotiate.
Figure 1,500.
Yeah, and I think it like the lucky draw is still available.
yeah, the lucky draw might be available.
Council in the past has sponsored that at the Alpha Show, and it's been a big thing because if you're not there, they keep drawing numbers out of the hat. And a lot of people get a phone call, hey, you just cost yourself $1,000, so you're not hanging around for the whole event. So I like the idea of, but anyway, whatever it is to the value of 1,500, Councillor Gleeson, would I hear you move that?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I will second that, and I would even suggest the lucky draw price as well.
Well, Mr Mayor, do we leave it open as a donation of $1,500? Because if we happen to take one of these sponsorship packages
Takes it
out of the
money.
loop, maybe that takes the opportunity for somebody else to sponsor it, like,
So just Councillor Gleeson, are you happy if we change the word sponsor to donation, and then it doesn't necessarily need to be attached to one of their packages, it's just a support?
if prior to the event there's one of those packages
Yeah.
left, then we can take it for naming. The next
Delete to the value of, yes, correct.
the next thing there would be is, like, if we do happen to jag, say, the sheep races, it comes with 4 free tickets to the lunch in the marquee and dinner tickets. Do we then raffle those or donate them back? Or do something on a different level to raise some money or encourage some of the other towns to get up there, people from other towns to get up there?
Yep.
I'm happy with that.
Councillor Hanson, you happy with that amendment?
Yeah, I'm happy with
You're not
that.
going to put your lucky draw in.
Those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Paula, you got $1,500.
Very good, thank you.
Mr Mayor, you're not going to put the lucky draw on there, as Councillor Hanson said.
And we're giving them 1,500 in case another sponsor really wants that, and if we've taken it out of circulation, they might not think they're getting anything. So that might be our preferred, that if we end up with that, it's good, but otherwise we just give them $1,500. Because another corporate sponsor might come along and really want that, and if we've taken it, well, we might make it a sponsorship package, you know, play.
But it does have a good look on us, so that we're.
Yeah. 3.10.1. District Manager Lawrence. Can I have somebody move her report be received, please? Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? Carried. Feedback, questions or comments for us here before we start with questions from councillors?
I'll just say the land tenders, those contracts have, two of the 3 lots at Mahoney Court and 2 of the parcels in the John Miller Industrial Estate have been completed and signed. They're just with council now for us to sign off on. And the information from the third party for the other 2 parcels has come back. Just waiting for some further information for them to get their contract completed. So that is all in progress. Deposits have been received by Communco, so they are in there. It was also in the Deputy CEO's meeting and Mayor's reports about the Barcode and Rec Park user group. Their first meeting was a very good group. There was a group attended, and I was an apology for the next one. That was more to form a committee for them to have their own little group, and I did receive an email saying that a committee was elected, so which is good to see. There was a lot of interest, so people have put their hand up. Not too much else there. Clean Up Australia Day. It's always great to see our staff members giving up volunteering their time to do that. So it was 3 of our employees from outside put their hand up to drive the trucks each year, and there have been some of those quite new to the council and have been putting their hand up for the last couple of years, which is great to see. It was a good crowd of people. I think in the next report to see there was 65 attendees, so which is good. Apart from that, I don't think there's too much else that there's a stand up there. Unfortunately, I just thought of this as I was reading this. I probably should have included a picture of the sign for the Ron Chandler Park. We have been provided with a picture of that from the person who made that, and I also have the camp draft pavilion sign sitting in my office waiting to be put up. So I've negotiated and spoken to the Camp Draft Association about where they wanted it, and they would like to see that put on the western wall, which is the wall you'll see as you drive around, because there is nowhere to put it on the front because of all the roller doors. So just got to talk to our carpenter to get those put in place. But happy with both of them. I think they're both good value for money. I will download, put the photo of my phone and send a copy to each of the councillors if you like for the Ron Chandler Park one.
Thank you also, along with Councillor Rogers, any other councillors there for attending the school and university ceremony. I was unfortunately out of town at the DDMG meeting and couldn't make it. So who else was there? I'm Councillor Arthur. Thank you. You'll be there.
Very privileged to be sat in front row.
Yes,
Very good.
front and centre and not in trouble at school for us.
Position you were not that familiar with, Councillor Arthur. All right, any other questions, please, for you? Three, 11.1. Information report from Community Engagement Coordinator. Can I have somebody move Angela's report be received? Councillor Plum, Councillor Arthur. Not in this one. No, it's not even the next one, it's the one up. Those in favour? Carried 7-0. Questions? Okay. 3.11.2. Questions, councillors? councillors. Consultation was undertaken with the local golf club, who obviously are key stakeholders in the golf tournament, and they strongly recommend that council do not proceed. Councillor Gleeson, yes.
Asked a question about that. Was that's the Barcaldine Golf Club?
Yep.
Golf Club wasn't
Not, no, because it wasn't asked by Queen Outback Queensland Masters, it was specifically Barcaldine.
So that's out of our hands now. Like if Barcaldine Golf Club don't want to do it, we can't ask the Alpha Golf Club would they proceed and have we got the accommodation and could we handle it?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask why the Barcaldine Golf Club objected to it?
This was just asking whether you had received that letter or not, so just bear with me, please. Okay. I refer to your recent correspondence and conversations in regard to the possible holding of a leg of the 2022 Outback Masters Golf Circuit at the Barcaldine Golf Club. I wish to advise that the management of the golf club discussed this item of correspondence at its March general meeting, and it was resolved at this stage to not be involved. We note the promotional material supplied, which lacked detailed information in regard to the 18-19 participation and results achieved. With the COVID cancellation of 20, we were hoping that we would have access to the participation figures for 21 circuit before these invitations were put forward. The club is of the opinion that near half of the participation will be local content, and the cost and format of the event does not lend itself to gaining high numbers of participants. It is plain to see that the organisers of the event don't really have a grip on golf in Western Queensland and what is required for a successful event. We also note that the value of the spectator passes, which we would suggest will not encourage local participation at the evening events. We note from other participating clubs that the quality of the night entertainment and the general running of the events are to a high standard. However, the patronage to date has been lacklustre due to the costs and format of the events. Golf Australia run a Queensland Sandgreens Championship over a 3-day weekend. These events are booked out within 30 minutes, with 200 players initially being accepted and then reduced to 180 for the main event. These events turn over in excess of $80,000 for each club at this stage of the event. The consensus is that the Outback Masters events, which will have no more than 90 participants at any one event to date, falls well short of the hype and publicity that is being portrayed. The club is of the understanding that a figure of $20,000 has been proposed for each council to sponsor the event. The club is of the opinion that the $20,000 would be more beneficial to the community, being spent on hard infrastructure, of which the golf club has a list of projects where these funds would be most advantageous to both the club and the community. The club is open to having a direct conversation with council on needs and projects for the Barcaldine Golf Club and would welcome input from council. Yours faithfully, Bob O'Brien, President of Barcaldine Golf Club. So it was on that advice to officers that the recommendation to decline the proposal is presented.
They're in charge.
Mr. Mayor, I don't follow golf at all, but you hear lots of positives about it on the radio when they, last year when they were running around, year before, when they were running around out west for the $1 million hole, and that there seemed to be a lot of positives on the radio about it all.
Yeah, I think that one event, discussion I had with Bob about this after I received his letter, the $1 million event is a good event. But this is not the $1 million event.
It's not,
There's only one event.
but this is not part of that.
Oh, it's part of the circuit, but there's no $1 million hole at Barcaldine. They only have one of the 6 each year that has that. Are we in your hands, councillors?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I don't think we've got any options. The golf club don't want to run the Masters. I just think we accept, then we decline the proposal. If the golf club don't, it's their club. If they don't want to run the Masters, there's not too much we can do about it, is there? We just got to move the recommendation to open.
Not necessarily a putting competition on the racetrack. No, I can't see much we can do about it at all.
So should I'll move that motion.
Peters, seconded councillor Hanson. Any further discussion? Those in favour? Carried, 7-0. Yeah, you have an interest on them, I think. Who else had one? Councillor Plum. The council agrees to a 3-year contract with Y Leave Town Promotions for a value of 8419 from 1 July 21 to 30 June 24. Brett or Angela? Sorry, Anna, would you like to speak to this in Angela's absence?
It's essentially just a gift card that you can purchase and load up with money to give to your friends and relatives so that they then need to spend that money within the region that they purchased the card from. And in this case, the region would be the Barcola region in its entirety, so you can buy one from up here in Barcola but spend your money down in another township. And the money, the 8,419 that is requested, it just helps to enable the system to be rolled out and to also purchase the actual credit cards as well. Whereas normally when you go into a shop and buy a Visa credit card, you normally have to pay a fee at that particular point in time. So those fees would be absorbed within that 8,419.
Mr. Mayor, it's, presently we give out vouchers, so you got Barking Bucks vouchers, you've got, you know, sporting clubs, golf club, whatever, tennis club. You've got vouchers for prizes to be spent in the local community, whereas if you have a card, just hand out a card, it's just a credit card, debit card. They can only spend it at a business within the BRC area.
A business that's registered within the scheme.
Um,
Or just any business that had a geo-block.
This event.
Because through you, Mr Mayor, it does say simply present the card at a participating store and the transaction takes place via the FPOS. So from that, I would understand that you would have to be
Well,
registered.
that's what I thought.
So we'd have to get all our local businesses to register.
Our local businesses would have to
Unless
register.
it's geo-based.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't be at any cost to them.
No, but the way I read it, that's all embedded in that.
8419.
Well, it's 6,600 for 1 year and 8,400, or sorry, yeah, 6,000 for 1 year. So if we do it, the 3 years is worth more than the 1 year. As in, it's $6,000 if we do it for 1 year, but it's only 8,400 if we do it for 3.
Yes,
so
that's right. Value for money
yeah,
proposition.
value for money over 3 years is better. Yeah. I just think we're going to pay $8,500 to somebody else. Are we not better off just putting that money into vouchers for the local community?
The only difference is that $8,500 isn't what the vouchers are, is it? Like, so there could be $20,000 worth of vouchers if people choose to,
Yeah, but that's just set-up costs. So
That's right.
that costs council $8,419.
and no one gets locally a cent out of that.
And no one gets anything out of that. And then any money that puts on it, gets put on the cards it's not held by us or the business owners, it's held separately.
Mhm.
With those cards, I know there's lots of different sorts and ways they come out. Some cards, they're a value of $250, but there's $25 lost in transaction there. Have we got, if the council do anything about this, have we got any jurisdiction over that, or is that the you know, what I'm trying to say, you understand what I'm saying about some of the
Yeah, are there
cars?
fee restrictions? So there's no,
I don't believe there's like any, like your credit card, you
Mm.
might have to pay a 1% surcharge. I don't believe this comes with a 1% surcharge.
I think the 8,500 paid, that covers the fee.
That would cover that.
The other thing you can do is, with these is, you know, buy a birthday, give some Christmas gifts for them.
that are
It
too
doesn't,
late.
it can be anyone, so you can just, you don't know what to buy, buy for someone, you can go and get one of these cards and load it up, give it as a present. And they can only spend it then within the local area.
So getting back to we asked a while ago, it would only be spent in Aramac, in our shire.
Yes.
But it could be spent. Could it, so you could spend it on taking family out to dinner?
If it's one of the, so the amount that we pay would give us up to 50 redemption stores that could participate in the program. So it'd have to be one of those 50 that sign up to the program.
Would we accept 50? Even though 50 would do it?
Sure. Because it could even mean, it could be any business like hairdressers. Could be, I mean, it could even be camping, caravan parks, like every business accommodation.
So have you got a term
Because
off?
maybe someone from another town might come and think, oh, I'll stay here, you know, like there's all, it's probably every business. You'd like to include them, but how many businesses have we got this? More than 50? Beyond?
I don't know, I'm just trying to count them. Well, Jess, how many letters did we write to hotels and motels for a start? 14, maybe, you know, yeah, I think we hit 50 pretty. I think if we get to 14 just with one industry and then there's,
Some might want to participate.
No, that's right.
Refuse.
Like grocery shops, cat plumbing, electrical shop,
Tradesmen.
garden shop.
got 6 grocery shops. No, 5 grocery shops. About 8 service stations, fuel outlets,
Yeah, I don't know.
3 hardware shops,
Bakeries, surveys.
3 or 4 of them.
So I didn't realise there was a limit on the amount of businesses, so it's 50.
Yeah.
That's what's included.
That's included.
That's
Sure, if you had
included,
more.
right?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I would say they have packages set up at certain scales for their website and access, so it's, might be 1 to 10 or 1 to 50, 51 to 100, and everything would be pre-set up in the module and they just initiate it, so.
So what might be interesting, I mean, if we hit 50, that means that the community support, this is actually pretty good, like the business support for it. So maybe instead of worrying about going big early, make that a problem. We've got to, if it's, so before you sign, if council's an intent to do something, I'm presuming that here, but for the purpose of the conversation, we just check that whether we can start up once we've initiated.
Well, on the, through you, Mr Mayor, the price inclusions, it says 1 year or 3 year contract for a tier 2, which is 31 to 70 businesses, so I would say you would possibly be able to scale up to 70. There might be an additional fee to it, but I would say tier 1 is 0 to 30. And then if you want over 70, it would be another level again.
Well, 70 is probably getting closer to then complete coverage as opposed to, yeah.
I think like within 3 years, we'd have some idea of how much was supported by the businesses in the community. I mean, the only thing would be is if we got to the end of 1 year and there wasn't enough, you know, space to add more businesses. If we could,
think that'd be a good problem.
I mean, it'd be a good problem, as long as we knew we could upgrade halfway through 3 years,
Okay,
if we needed.
so where are we at? Dean's a little bit, sorry, councillor Arthur's a little bit.
I'm not exactly enamoured with it, because I think we could just put $8,419 worth of vouchers or cash into the towns. Yeah, but the 3-year contract is more appealing than the 1-year contract, based purely on dollars.
3 years to me. Is there any sort of difficulty with the vouchers, like this, like the reason this idea is being floated, is it because it would be a lot easier than the vouchers and,
Vouchers are very time consuming. Not only preparing them, and then you've got to trace them and track them. So you send out vouchers and people don't spend them until some of them maybe 12 months later, and then you've got to go back and check, well, is it valid? And they go to a store, and then the store will ring up council and go, well, is this real? So there is a lot of administration with the vouchers, and for sporting clubs that's almost impossible. You know, they're all volunteers, but I know Angela spends a lot of time tracking vouchers.
Councillor Arthur. Hands.
Mr Mayor, are you talking to the other councillor Arthur that you were looking at the time?
I've heard from Councillor Arthur, could I hear from Councillor Hanson, please?
I think it's a good idea. So in past experiences with gift vouchers, as Brett said, sometimes it could take 12 months for them to come in. I'm trying to remember who got them, who had them. This idea of the card, if I was in business, which I no longer am, if I was in business, I think this sort of thing would be more appealing in gift vouchers.
so 3 years to me, because they can just be used just like an F+ card. So the business doesn't have to do anything, they just take the transaction. But, so it would cut out any businesses that don't use F+. But there aren't a lot that won't. They already miss out on some.
And it could actually be the added incentive that some of those businesses
Yeah.
might need to, as we get closer to cashless transactions. So Councillor Gleeson.
I think they're a good idea for people that don't know what to buy somebody. And I know I keep getting back to it, but that fee will counteract any ongoing charges to the we seem to think, we hope, that fee will counteract.
If you put the money into the account, it's your money. If you put $100 onto one of these cards, you get to spend $100 at any shop that's registered for the program.
And
which was the case with the Central Western Queensland Drought Appeal.
Yeah.
So they sent out pre-loaded Visa cards to people that were affected. There was $250 on there, or $500 or $100.
That's $250.
$250.
I know for a fact, excuse me for interrupting, but I do know for a fact the other day that we got a $250 card with a friend, and there was only $225. And that's just, you know, obviously the people that put that card out are getting caught big time. I think I'm in front.
Councillor Portodge. Okay, do I have a resolution?
I'll move.
Councillor Hanson. Most definitely better get this right. Maybe the outcome of the vote here.
I know you were looking at me, but you weren't actually talking.
I did make sure I got it right before I opened my mouth this time. Second, Councillor Gleeson, please. Yes. Debate, further to the discussion.
Mr Mayor, I appreciate the Deputy CEO's comment and the time for the administrative process of our paper-based gift cards, and maybe it's time that we moved on for those. But could we investigate how much it does cost to buy those prepaid Visa or MasterCard? Like if $250 is loaded on,
$1 per card.
$5 per card, are we maybe not better off putting $8,419 into however multiples there are of $50 cards and just,
The only thing with those, Mr Mayor, is you can spend them anywhere, so you can take them to Brisbane and spend them, whereas these cards can only be spent in this area.
Through you, Mr Mayor, just to add a comment. I am looking at this as more of a shop locally campaign rather than handing out money.
Yeah, it's like a support for business without having to choose who gets the money to support that business. So I'm in favour of it, but I've observed the debate here, and your points are not lost on me either, Councillor Arthur. It is a significant sum of money that would make a genuine difference if we circulated $8,000 through the small businesses about 5 pounds. However, if we've seen versions of shop local in different communities, including our own, and they wither and die. This may wither and die, but if it changes spending behaviour and if it reinforces local business, then it could undertake a cultural change. And I think, therefore, for that value, it's probably got the potential to be good value. My only concern about it was the scalability, but I think that 50 to 70 is probably going to cover existing businesses, especially ones that would be most likely at a retail level to participate. So I'm in favour, but I do they're very valid points.
Mr Mayor, I have an issue with things like GoFundMe that just take percentages out
Huge.
of people, like, and some, like, companies are making millions of dollars out of that, out of a charitable purpose. The one benefit to this is the geo-locking for the Barkey Regional Council.
So I don't think we need to resolve this here. CEO and Deputy CEO are very clear on our thoughts about that. We want to make sure if you put $100 on a card, $100, it doesn't cost you $107 to preload a $100 card.
It does say somewhere in there, Mr Mayor, that the transaction fees are in that, the figure that we pay.
That's correct. Program annual subscription fees inclusive of that.
Yeah.
However, should their further investigation on sign up indicate, or prior to sign up indicate that that is the case, I'd be certain they'd bring that back to us.
Yeah.
Because we're on the understanding from what's in front of us that it's one, we're offsetting all of that by paying the $84.19.
Yeah.
So we're ensuring that $100 loaded onto a card is $100 exited from a card. I don't think we need to amend the resolution.
Just through, the only issue would be if maybe if you used a credit card to load up a card, and then your credit card provider or the business that you're going through might
May
still
well charge you a
something
fee.
on that one.
And that's yeah. That's a credit card deal. I have no problem with that. It's the same as I do have a problem with it. Sorry, but it's not a problem that we
Separate issue.
separate issue. Yes, I would. Very good advice. This would be though, if I walk in with $100 cash, I'd like to be able to buy one of these cards at the survey and give it to Councillor Gleeson as a Christmas present, and he would be able to spend $100 at a shop of his choice. To put it in very simple terms. I'll put it to the vote, please. Those in favour? 5-0. Meeting closed at 4:02.
Mr Mayor, now that that's finished, am I able to just ask one question?
Oh, you must could have contributed at an earlier stage.
No, because I don't, it's not my place to, but who gets the money if the card's not used within 3 years? Because we all know about gift cards that people don't use.
So,
Who
well, the federal
gets
government,
that money?
well, the federal government's law on gift cards has changed effective this year. So that gift cards can no longer legally expire.
Well, yeah, that's not my
So-
concern. They all have a 3-year expiry on them.
That's right. So gift cards that are sold after a certain date this year, legally now can no longer expire. So I know that answer, but I don't know if it gets the money. It possibly sits in Fairyhead. I have no idea.
It says in there, it sits in a separate trust, so it doesn't sit with Wiley Town Promotions, it doesn't sit with us, and it doesn't sit with any participating business. So
So, yeah, it sits with Cuscal, the largest independent provider of payment solutions for the financial services sector.
Which will put it into the short-term money market and make a fortune off it.
Yes.
Yeah, because you just know historically on a gift card, no one gives the money back, so someone
Yeah.
ends up with it somewhere. That was the only question I had.